Hey guys, it's William Schufelt, aka Brody the Red Ranger, and I want to say it is morphin time. You guys are watching it here at Action Activate!
Here we come, there they go. Evil runs, 'cause they know we're super soldiers. We got cool clothes, you real smooth when you see our pose. Action, energize, mask on, time to ride. Combine, grease ties.
Hey, guess what? It's me, Gazbot. This is Action Activate. We're going to talk about Power Rangers Beast Morphers. Who's we? We is me, we is Gazbot, and we is...
Big Dawg Defender.
That's right. With me, as always, is the Big Dawg Defender. I don't know why I said it that way. The last two intros, we kind of didn't... I think because I'm trying to like, hey, here's a new peppy intro, and I kind of forget what I normally say, and then, oh, by the way, I have to introduce him, and...
I'm just here. I'm ready. Still the same guy as far as I know.
As well, yeah, from the outside at least. Inside, who knows what's happening? You'd be having some sort of conversion process. But we are Action Activate as always. We are here to talk about Power Rangers, and of course, this season, season 2 of Power Rangers Beast Morphers. No super in the title, although, and it's funny because people were really uptight about that and hated the super seasons, and they're not calling it super. I kind of don't care about that because effectively this is the super season. They have their power up mode, they have better Zords, all this stuff. They're not putting the super on it, but whether they put that name on it or not, they're still taking it and making it into 2 seasons, which depending on how it's written and depending on how it goes, I'm not against 2 seasons. Like, if anything, I'd like the same team to last longer. I would rather that they get the new suits and like evolve, but it's just funny to me how many people were so hung up on the fact that they put super on the second season. What are your thoughts? I don't know if we've ever talked about this.
I don't know if we did either. So for me, I like them not having super in the title only because every time they've had to shoehorn it into the show. So like Dino Supercharge, they had their Dino Super Drive modes or whatever. Like
the way they would name the things, the characters would have to say it in the show.
Yeah, and like,
Yeah.
oh, we're a super mega win. It's like, no, like I get it.
See,
like, come on.
I agree with you. I get what you're saying, but when it comes to Megaforce, because it's so ridiculous and over the top already, I like the Super Mega Win because it's like Power Rangers Megaforce, Power Rangers Super Ultra Mega Blaster. Like, put it all in there. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Like it, at that point. But realistically, I see your point.
Yeah, and Megaforce as a title, you're like, oh, that's kind of weird anyway. All right. Like, the more you break it down and dissect it, the more you're like, never mind. Just stop while you're ahead.
or keep piling it on, one way or the other. That's
exactly.
what I'm saying, yeah.
The other thing is, if they were going to give a title, and if you guys have your own suggestions, put it down below. But for me, if they were to keep that trope, I think it would be Beast X Morphers.
I was thinking the same thing, but it wouldn't be that trope. It would be changing it slightly, but it wouldn't be, again.
But you know what I mean? Not just season 1 and 2. It's like, no, regular Beast Morphers and then
X Morphers.
Blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
I'd be fine with that too, because they're already saying, Beast X mode or whatever. So like, that, I agree. I'm fine with that. If somebody has a better idea, then let us know. But
Super Ninja Steel. So we're talking about the episode today.
Yes.
Remind me the title. I feel like I wrote it down.
The title is The Blame Game.
The Blame Game, which honestly, I didn't think about it too much going in, but then as the episode evolves, you're like, of all the things from this episode to call it, that's a fun one. Sure. Initial thoughts.
I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I liked last week better. Of course. I mean, I really liked last week. I could best sum it up like this. If this was a season 1 episode, I would like it a lot better.
Yep.
That's the best way I could put it.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
I think it was fine. I think it definitely had some moments that I really enjoyed and other moments that fell short simply because, what are we comparing it to? Last week's episode that after we talked about it and dissected it more, I enjoyed more. And I think you didn't necessarily enjoy it more because you already had it on such a high, but we both kind of met in the middle of it's better than I thought, and it's not on a pedestal like you had it. So
and honestly, comparing it to season 2 in general and the end of season 1, it also doesn't stack up.
Yeah.
it feels like an early season 1 episode, like when things like, because it was sort of like season 1 started good and then got a little weird, and it feels like a season 1 episode that was when it was still good, but like things hadn't really blown up in the meta story yet, and it was still just sort of establishing everything. And so again,
Yeah.
if it was back then, I would give it like a B or B plus, A minus, or something like that. But I'm grading it a little more harshly because we're so far beyond that at this point I expect more out of the show.
I think my hope is that the seeds that were planted in this episode
Mhm.
will make us look back and appreciate it more retroactively.
Okay, that's a nice hope.
But let's
yes.
get into the game, if you will, Gazbot.
Okay.
Nice game of football.
They're playing football. They're throwing around with steel out in public. That's not a big deal. We've established this. It is no longer
No
a
one
problem.
cares anymore.
No one cares.
Literally,
Yeah.
no one cares about steel anymore.
But he catches the ball and he seemingly gets touchdown. He's like, touchdown, we win, right? That's how it works. And
Yeah.
he's being steel. There's a lot of fun steel moments in here. But then
Yeah.
there's this father and daughter, and she throws something on the ground, and the father's like, hey, go pick up like extra trash to make up for that. And Steel's like, what a jerk! And they're like, no, it's actually fine. That's how you teach kids, like she littered, so pick up litter, and it's called discipline. And so right away, I don't know about you, but I'm like, this is gonna be a big part of the
yeah.
episode, and Steel is gonna
Yep.
get it wrong. And I was fine with that. Because they
Fun,
good.
I was gonna say fun thing was, if you notice, the father completely American, the daughter not so much.
Yeah. Well, and it seems
Very
like
New Zealand.
they have a harder time getting kids with accents, which makes sense
Yeah.
because you have to be a kid that is not only an actor but also can do an American accent.
Yeah.
But what I like, in case there's any doubt that this was going to be a part of the plot and Steel was going to get it wrong, they kind of like explain to him and they walk away, and then Steel's like, "So people use punishment to teach others lessons?" And it's like, "Yep, we're going somewhere with this."
Yep, I know. I was thinking the same thing. Let me take a look at my notes. Yeah, my third note of the show, it goes,
Yeah.
playing football, dad teaching lesson about littering, and Steel doesn't get it. Steel is going to grossly misinterpret that series of events.
Yep.
Third note for the show.
Yep. But after that, we cut back to the cyber dimension of Pointy, and Blaze and Roxy are bringing a bag to Scrozzle, and it's a puppet. It's a weird-looking puppet.
It's a paper hand puppet.
Yeah.
Then it's like, oh, did you get the really important part of our plan? It's like,
yeah,
like I wish there was a deleted scene, if you will, where they're literally behind that brick wall, just
pacing it
crudely
together.
making
Yeah.
with like a sandwich bag, and then they're like, oh yeah, here we go.
I also imagine, as much as he's annoyed by them, he sees them as like children, like he's the parent, and they're like, "Look, we made it." He's like, "Oh, perfect! Just yeah,
Wow.
yeah."
This plan's gonna be foolproof thanks to you two. Couldn't have done it without you.
Yeah,
Oh,
like, and the
great.
thing is, they didn't show them going and robbing a store or stealing it from the little kids' arts and crafts fair or whatever they got it. So it could have been anything. It could have been like a marionette. It could have been any kind of puppet in the world. Why
Yeah.
did it have to be this little paper crappy? Like the later puppets that they make for Gold Ranger and Cole the security guy, they look better, and they're still kind of like simple.
Yeah.
But like, I guess they're trying to make it match the monster. But even if they made it like a little felt, like, I don't know, it was just weird. It was
Yeah.
you know what? The scene you were talking about where Blaze and Roxy are building it with glue, I feel like that's what the production department was doing. They were like, "Oh, we need another puppet that looks like this monster by like 3 o'clock," and they're like, "Oh, quick,
Boop-a-doop-a-doop.
yeah, put it in a bag. Put it in a bag. Oh, don't take it out of the bag. Oh, you take it out of the bag. All right, we'll
No,
roll with it."
make it a bag.
Oh,
And
it's just a bag. Yeah. Is there anything in it? No.
not anymore.
Well,
So-
yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say, so they get that. He's like, oh, great, here we go. Ties back to the last episode, which I like, of like,
Yes.
hey, Controlatron, you need to go get the Gold Ranger.
Right.
He's crucial for this plan that we already talked about.
Yes.
Go get the Gold Ranger.
And it's the
And I
first thing
believe you have a
Ewok
fun
says.
fact.
Oh yeah, actually, my fun fact. Actually, I can put it up on the screen. I get my fun facts from various places, but one thing I follow on Instagram is it's called the Power Scoop. Let me see if I can share my screen over here real quick. And it's about the voice actor. Boom, there we go. Okay, so then I'll pull this up. So the Power Scoop on Instagram I follow, and they often do casting stuff. In addition to like saying when they're casting, they'll say who got cast. So Rowan Bajetman. I have no idea if that's how he says him. Or Jetman. There's no T. I'm gonna call him Jetman. So Rowan Jetman is the voice of Controlatron, who is also Needletron in the earlier episode of this season rather. And he also did Shoe Spike and Ninja Steel and Ace. And he was a face actor of Ryan's father in Power Rangers Samurai, which I did not remember, but that's cool too. So he got a little FaceTime as well. So that was my little factoid. That was just funny because I see these come up all the time, and I don't always they're not always related to the exact episode we're reviewing, but this one lined up perfectly.
Nice.
Yeah.
So now that Controltron's there, we get going. Then we go back to base. We're getting ready for the Ben and Betty moment.
Okay, hold on. Let me. Okay, here we go. Ben and Betty moment up on the screen. So they're sucking up leaves, which is weird because usually it's a leaf blower.
And they make that pun too.
Yeah, that it sucks.
So yeah, they're like, "Oh, this sucks. It's all jammed." And she's like, "Hey, great idea. Why don't we improve modern technology with Morphex?" He's like, "I don't know, sis. Boop or derp."
Also,
She's
why
like,
does she have a vial of Morphex with her randomly, unless this was her plan all along?
So Ben and Betty consistently, and this is just adding to what I do, break modern technological and science grounds on a comedic basis.
Yes.
Today is no different. They go, "Hey, let's add this new fuel source to a probably traditionally gas-powered leaf blower / sucker, and let's see what happens."
It does seem rather reckless of them, though, doesn't it? I mean, they're making breakthroughs, but
I'm saying that like the potential is there, and it's just squandered by the writing. Anyways, so they use this leaf blower. They're getting leaves really far away. Instantly, you're like, something bad's going to happen. They're going to suck up something they shouldn't. What happens?
They suck up the tree.
They crudely suck up a tree, very reminiscent of Who Framed Roger Rabbit kind of animation of like.
Well, it's cartoony. Here's the thing. It's not the best CGI animation in the show, but that's not the problem. The creative decision was make the tree get sucked up like a cartoon would be sucked up, which is what you're saying with Roger Rabbit.
Yeah.
With that creative direction, it's not the worst animation. It's not the worst job. But why do they always they could have just sucked and all the leaves fell off, and then maybe some of the branches, and it would have still been funny, but more like a hurricane's hitting them, you know? But I feel like that's what they do a lot with Ben and Betty. They did it much worse in Ninja Steel, but they make the decision not just to have a goofy slapstick thing, but make it defy the laws of physics in this world where everything is, fantastical.
Science.
But it's for these two characters only, it becomes cartoons. And that's the same thing that happened with Victor and Monty. Like, why are they the only? You never see a Power Ranger get punched and be like, and blow his head back up. Or nothing crazy. It's only the comedic. I don't know. It's just weird. Yeah.
It reminds me, this is a side tangent, when Stan Lee was interviewed a long time ago, it was talking about how he had inspiration for some of the heroes and stuff, and he said that DC Comics at the time, it would just be like, they have powers because they have powers, and some were rooted in science and others weren't, and he's like, every single character that I have and what they can do is somehow rooted in science. The X-Men are mutated evolution of humans. Thor can't fly, but he can swing his hammer and use it to
That's
travel.
My favorite. That he throws his hammer so hard because he's so strong that it
drags
him, which doesn't make sense. But he made an attempt. He's like, it's like he could have said Thor's magic, but he said, well, Thor is magic, and that's why he's strong. But So I agree.
Little things like that.
Yeah, I agree.
And also, this was 1962 comic logic where it was being innovative, but back on track because we get sidetracked way too much.
So they suck everything up and it explodes, of course, and it's not the worst gag, it's not the best gag, it's fine. I didn't like the cartoony way that the tree got sucked up, otherwise it was fine. I did notice that there was no tree, like they did an outside shot that I'm showing to the audience, and I was like, I wonder if continuity they're not going to have a tree there anymore. That'd be kind of a fun thing. Spoilers that comes back by the end of the episode, which is a way to get around that. But I was hoping, So then next we're introduced to Cole. He's a security officer.
So Cole not only is a security officer, but shout out Matt Kendall-Clare for this fun fact.
Okay.
But Pierre Beasley, who's the actor who played Cole, also played Chaz in Super Ninja Steel's episode Fan Frenzy, where Chaz was super obsessed Levi fan that got infected and turned evil for a bit. Which is interesting because of the parallels with what's about to
Oh,
happen.
that's funny. Yeah. Well, so he's doing a bad job. One of the other workers has a box, and he just lets him go
A
by. A
lunchbox.
lunchbox, and Steele's like, "Hey, you're supposed to watch." And the thing is, you know, well, we know, maybe a kid watching doesn't know, but we know that this is going to go bad and he's going to go over the top. But during this scene, I'm totally on Steele's side. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
you're a security guard. You don't just go, oh, I kind of know you. It's fine. No, you check the box, and they check, and it's just lunch. And what I like here, though, is everyone's kind of like, that might have been a little bit much. But Ravi's like,
Except for Ravi.
no, like he's right. Like you're not his whole job is to check people on the way in. You can't just not, and so and again, then Steele's like, well, I think you need to learn your lesson and go sweep up out front. And they're like, whoa, that's too much. He's like, no. Cole, that is. He's like, you're right. I love working here. I want to take my job seriously. I'll happily take this punishment. So at this point, I am totally on Steele's side. Like he saw a problem, he corrected it. The guy even took his punishment like a champ. I was like, yeah, you're right. I got to do better. So like, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, Steele in this whole episode, without going too deep in what happens later, he has the exact same reaction to any problem.
Yes.
This problem happens to be more warranted than other problems that he quote unquote solves and teaches lessons.
Agreed.
For.
And I do think it's good to start this way because it makes it seem like, oh, he's just taking a proactive, we got to, make the base safer. Like, so it's, a few people were like, oh, is that a little over the top? But nobody was like mad at him. No one's like, what are you doing? So it's like, oh, Steele's going to be doing a good job now this episode, I guess,
Yeah. And I like how Ravi's still unwavered. It's like, yeah. I've been at this base a long time, and I hid my art for years.
They should definitely be checking it. They're terrible. They are terrible.
Yeah, so we get that going, and then
Blaze and Roxy.
So Blaze and Roxy show up with Controlatron,
yep.
and they have a puppet of Cole. And they're like, all right, our big plan is we're going to throw this outside now that Cole's outside.
Well, no,
and
I don't think that's what was going on. They have a puppet.
You think either way?
Well, they have a puppet of Nate. Is clearly Nate. They need the Gold Ranger. Then they have a puppet of a Grid Battle Force security guard or employee. I don't think it was Cole. I
think it was Cole specifically.
How would they know that Cole was going to be outside sweeping? He's normally supposed to be inside.
No, I thought they made it once they showed up.
I thought they had it with them, and they said, because then he came out, and they're like, oh, good, here he is, get him. So I thought it was a thing where he wears a uniform, and they just made it kind of look like a generic guy in that uniform, and it would have worked on anybody that looked like that.
I thought because of what they established with Nate, it had to be exactly like the person that they were infecting. So maybe it was more convenient for them that he was outside. But either way, they know because they've been to the base enough times and snuck in that he's a security guard. And in order to get it past him because he checks packages.
Okay, let's assume they know all of that. And they even know his duty roster and schedule. I'm fine with that. If he didn't come outside, because he was supposed to be on duty inside at that time.
Yeah.
Was their plan to just sort of walk up to him and give him the puppet? Because they would be seen on cameras. There are other security guards. If he didn't come out of their building, that plan wouldn't work.
They either could have gone in disguise or gone in. He would have stopped him and been like, well, I don't know.
Okay. Ninja Steel.
It's not a Ninja Steel for you. We just don't know what we don't know.
I'll give the answer that you couldn't give. Maybe they got there thinking he was on duty, but maybe his shift was ending in a half hour. And they're like, once he leaves and goes to his car, we'll get him. And he came out early, made it easier. Now I'll take a Ninja Steel.
I can agree that it was a lot more convenient for whatever plan they had that he was outside. And
I just answered a question for you.
No, the one thing I was
your
glad,
position.
Time out. The one thing I'm glad didn't happen, and this goes into later on, is that them infecting him outside didn't go, Steel, if you weren't so harsh, this plan wouldn't have happened. I'm so glad they did not do that.
Oh, yeah. I agree with
That's
that.
what I thought was going to happen at first, and I was just like pre-mad. I was like, don't make it that.
No.
I'm going to be so frustrated if that's what it is. And thankfully it doesn't. So the one problem I had with this scene is they put it out there, and he goes, oh, well, this is cute. Dumbest line in the entire episode.
It wasn't amazing writing, but it didn't bother me. Why'd it bother you?
It really bothered me because if you see a random thing on the ground, you go, oh, what's this? Huh, I wonder what this is. You don't go, that's cute, walk over, pick it up.
If I worked at a facility where I had a uniform that was similar to a lot of other people's uniforms, like he does, and I saw that, and I would assume somebody's kid made it for them, or it was like the mayor's Grid Battle Force Appreciation Day or something. Like it'd be like having a postman's uniform or a police officer's uniform or something. So he probably thought, oh, that's cute. Somebody made a Grid Battle Force puppet. That's that's what I think was happening. If it was like a random if I walked out of my front door of my house, and I saw a little puppet of me with this Godzilla t-shirt and like a headset, I'd be like, ah, what is happening? But if I worked for the post office and I saw a postman, uniform puppet nearby, I go, oh, look at that. That's, it seems more of a thing that would make sense.
I now know something I have to do in the next couple weeks. Anyway, so he grabs it, gets infected, immediately puppeteered by Puppetron. Controllatron.
Yeah.
Should have been Puppetron, but whatever.
Yeah, I agree.
I do like how throughout the entire episode, whenever he's doing stuff, he's always this with his little puppet. I love that.
I love that too. And it like the very first scene, he kind of goes like this, and Cole kind of goes like this. But the rest of the time, he's like, "Get him!" And like Nate's doing spinning kicks and like computer work, and he's just like,
and he's just
because that's all you can do with that kind of puppet. Oh no. It's about the intention, is what it is.
Exactly. So he gets it, and it's like, great. Now you got to go deliver this package to Nate.
Okay. He walks in. He's got a package. There's a different security guard now, like manning his post. And what happens? That security guard doesn't check his package, proving Steele's point, because he's like, oh, hey, Cole. Yeah, somebody he knows. And he got in. Like, that's exactly what Steele was worried about. So he was 1,000% right. What bothers me is later on, again, spoilers, Cole gets in trouble for this. What about that security guard that let him in? He should be getting in more trouble, because Cole, turns out, it wasn't his fault. But this guy, it's the same mistake that just happened. Didn't he even say, where's Cole? Oh, he didn't check a package, so he's out on punishment duty. You check packages. Okay. Oh, hey, Cole. Like, he's the worst security guard they have. Remember when Ben and Betty were security guards in, like, the first episode?
Remember when Ben and Betty were the Renaissance men and women of Grid Battle Force?
And now they're just janitors, I guess.
They just do all the stuff.
Yeah.
They're innovating on a daily basis. So the cool part about when he goes to see Nate is that bow that is being foreshadowed that somehow we're going to see later that has a yellow cheetah and a blue cheetah.
I couldn't tell what the animals were, but it is yellow and blue with a black bow. What I like, though, this is the wrong way. I'm not a big weapons guy, but I have fired a bow and arrow and I have fired a gun. And I've even a paintball gun. Those are the three things I've used. The number one rule of all of those weapons is you don't point them at people, whether it's loaded, not loaded. It's you don't joke around. And he's holding this bow, which arguably is not loaded,
at a doorway.
And Cole comes in, and he literally, it's like if Cole's coming from there, he's like, "Oh, what's up?" and points it right at him. He's a scientist and a Power Ranger and a soldier, and he doesn't know the lesson to not point a weapon at somebody. Like, that was crazy to me.
Yeah, I also was bothered by that. And then, honestly, it gives, like, better validity to Controllatron of him being like, you have a package. Like, oh, I don't, like, just giving him the cold shoulder of, like, you almost destroyed me with this Morph X Power Ranger bow that I know nothing about.
Yeah, it was. And again, because I just looked at the screenshots here I took, too. It'd be one thing if he was sort of pointing it at the door opened. And why is he pointing it at the door? But he's not. I'm putting it up on the screen. He's pointing sort of off to the ceiling or whatever, and then when the door opens, he turns. Like, so it's like, it's worse. It's not like he wasn't paying attention. It's like he's like, what? What'd you say? What? You? What? It's like
awful.
Yeah, that was
awful.
And then he gets his puppet. By the way, when they grab the puppets, that's freaky. If I was a kid, that was scary because they look at the puppet and the puppet's like, yeah, and like the head kind of turns in and goes, ah, and like sucks into their hand. Like, that's one of the more scary ways I've seen somebody mind controlled on a kid show. Like, I definitely would have been scared of that as a kid.
The other thing that, like, wasn't consistent, and they used this as the thumbnail for the preview of the episode, is after Nate is, like, mind controlled, he, like, does an evil grin. No, that's a corruption plot. That's not a mind controlled plot. The other guy did great acting of showing no emotion and just kind of moving around being a robot.
You are absolutely right.
Ninja Steel.
No, because I agree.
Yes, Ninja Steel. Point again.
That's not how it works. That's not how it works.
Ah, 3! Ninja Steel. Got the hat trick with Ninja Steel.
Look, we were in agreement. I'm like, I agree. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, we're not really arguing. You're like, I'll make this an argument somehow by cheating on Ninja Steel points, which matter a lot, as you know.
I know.
So
Just like on Whose Line Is It Anyway? Their points, Ninja Steel points,
yeah.
just as important.
I thank you. I'm glad we're on the same page. But no, I agree. But it's the inconsistency bothers me more because when he first gets transformed or controlled, he's like a puppet, and then he's at the computer and he's like puppet. And there's even because I have the subtitles on, it's even a thing like he says like it is done in a robotic sounding voice, like. But then later he has the evil grin, and then when he's fighting Devin, Devin's like, well, again we're skipping ahead, but Devin says something like, snap out of it. He's like, no one's controlling me, which again, you're right, seems like a corruption plot. So
yeah, I know.
I wonder if they changed their mind halfway through, or maybe there were different writers that didn't know what was going on. But
yeah.
Inconsistent. So now they're back at the juice bar, and Steel is regaling everyone with all the tales of the punishments he's been doling out, which I think is fantastic. Oh, no, he says, I've been very busy helping my fellow humans.
Yep.
And so the first one, he's somebody's speeding around in Grid Battle Force, going too fast in the cart, and he's like, stop, you're going too quick, go clean the toilets. Now, does the punishment fit the crime? I don't know.
Not at all.
But again, I'm not completely not on his side. They're driving around unsafe in this, paramilitary installation. He's right to stop them. Does he have the authority to punish them? Probably not, but he's a robot, Power Rangers. They're going to listen. Maybe a little over the line, but I'm like, okay, no, I'm still on his side. Then there's a female soldier, or I don't know what her duty was.
I think this is the one that they always cut to, who behind the scenes is married to somebody that does the robot stuff, like send it in the Zords.
Yeah. I unfortunately didn't get a screenshot of her face, but that makes sense. But her shoelace is untied, and he's like, "Yo, clean your shoelace," which again is not wrong. He basically comes off like a stereotypical drill sergeant, He's like, "Shoelaces, soldier, give me 50," which isn't I wouldn't necessarily want that person over me, but it does sort of make sense. And it is odd that their shoelace wouldn't be tied at work in a base. Yeah. But then I think they said, what did you have her do? Polish your Zord with a Q-tip? And he's like, no, that'd be ridiculous. I told her to use a sponge. And which that is definitely way over the line, but it was a funny line. But so now we're like, okay, he's clearly misunderstanding and going too far. And just to really drive the point home, he gets mad at the server who's chewing gum and is about to give him a punishment. And Devin's sort of like, you can't, stop. But B, you don't work here. He doesn't work. Like, you can't just randomly, Look at the, well, you can't see it, but Devin's even, like, when the guy's spitting out, Devin's like, because I think he can't believe the guy is listening to him. But then again, it is a living robot, so I would listen to him.
Two things about this Steel subplot that I like. The one thing we forgot to touch on with Cole is he reprimands Cole, and then they're like, yo, like, what are you doing? And Cole goes, you know what, Mr. Steel?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So everything we've talked about, I'm like, isn't Steel supposed to be nope, he's being addressed by people as Mr. Steel. That's one.
Yes.
Two, which I just realized upon us talking about it, one of Steel's big character traits in the show is that he doesn't fully understand like human rules or logic and stuff. The thing that I don't get is, with everything he doesn't understand, how does he know every specific rule of all of these different places that he's enforcing them? It's like,
in Grid Battle Force, I believe it, because he might have been programmed with that, or he might have read a handbook. So I agree with that. But yeah, in this place, how does he know you can't chew gum?
It is against OSHA rules for you to chew gum while serving food.
Where's your hairnet, sir? Where is your hairnet?
Yeah, stuff like that. But yeah, so they do that. They're like, Steel, you really gotta like calm this down. You're misinterpreting. Oh, by the way, we gotta go take care of something.
Right, they get a call.
Battle Force, Tango, Echo, Mike, Charlie,
Alpha 44, Alpha 5, Alpha 7, Alpha 6.
Yeah,
and they get there and they're like, well, where's Nate? And they see Nate walk right up to Controltron and like bow to him, which of course this again, is it puppetry or is it control or corruption? Because it makes it seem like, oh, I've turned him evil now, but it's like, no, I guess Controltron is literally like, come over here now, bow to me. All right. Yeah. And it's like, all right, a bit of an ego on this guy, I guess.
So then they have a fight. Cool thing is Nate calls the Tronics, which I thought was really cool.
I thought Nate had a funny line right before that too, which because the Controltron is like, oh, he's my good little puppet or whatever, and then Nate goes, yes, I'm just a good little puppet, and like, I don't know, it's just a weird thing to say that made me laugh. And then after that, you're right, I have a screenshot. I thought I had a screenshot. I guess I don't. But Nate is like, yeah, no, I don't. I messed it up. because I thought I had. Oh no! Oh, it's after because they have the fight first, unmorphed, where Nate is
Yeah.
sort of fighting him, and they're doing the usual thing of like try not to hurt
Oh,
him.
Nate is morphed. They are unmorphed.
Correct. Yes. Which I wonder
Which is
why they
why
did that.
so he could do crazier kicks and stuff.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Because
But-
I was watching, I'm like, no offense to Abe,
right.
some of that stuff, especially in suit, way harder.
Sure, yeah. But and then he got done. He does this crazy haha pose, which again the puppet master's like that. And that one, and I have the shot up. He kind of does look like the puppet. So as much as this makes no sense for most of it, the beginnings and endings sometimes do sort of match the hand, which is kind of fun. But yeah, then Nate calls Tronics. Now, one thing. Well, I guess it comes up later, so I'll hold off on that. But he calls Tronics, which was cool. And then the fight starts. And this goes back. There's good and bad in this. It's a slightly above average fight, I would say. It's better than some we've seen, but it's But I definitely noticed things that we saw in the beginning of the season,
Season 1.
right? Which is a lot of using props to fight, which I don't mind, but it's
Yep.
like again, we kind of mentioned this. Like, it makes it feel like it's early Go Buster stuff. Maybe we see a lot of them using not like newer power-ups and we see Zoe jumping a lot and things like that, and they're not using all like usually at this point Devin's using a super speed through the whole battle. Like he just learned how to do it to teleport basically, and he's not doing that. Makes me feel like it's earlier. And again, martial arts wise, choreography wise, it's a little bit above average. But in terms
I think
of
it's average for what we've seen so far.
I'm saying not counting like cool powers, weapons, and abilities, but just straight fighting.
I agree with you. I think
Okay.
it's average.
Okay. I'm giving it like a little bit above average, but we're not going to nitpick that. That's fine. But in terms of where they should be with their powers and the escalation and all the crazy stuff we've seen, it's sort of like, what? Why are we fighting? Like, again, it feels like we've gone backwards to an earlier point in the show.
Yeah.
So I'm not so much criticizing the choreography as like for lack of a better term, writing. And I assume this all has to do with footage they're using. But it's like, well, then why didn't they use this footage earlier? Like nothing about this episode had to be this late in the season. This could have been much earlier. Like as far as like the raw footage they have, like yeah, it's just again not terrible, but it's bringing down the grade just because it's so like it's in season 2 already. But while that's happening, we cut back to the cyber pointy evil dimension of points, and this again we have Nate, and he's doing this programming on the secret project, and he's very robotic, which goes against what he was just doing a minute ago.
I know. So the inconsistency, the concept of this Robotron is cool.
Yes.
The execution is counterintuitive,
Yes.
where it's like, I control people or I corrupt them or what? Because it's like, we need Nate. Why? Because he knows how to program something. How are we going to do it? We're going to use a puppet monster to control him. So the puppet monster knows how to do it. No. Then how are we going to get him to do it? Because that's kind of the logic. So it didn't crazy bother me, but it's one of those like we said, the only reason we're critiquing so harshly is because they've showed us how thorough and great the writing can be.
Yeah.
And when it's not, that's only when we get mad.
And it would be an easy fix. All the points where they seem robotic, get rid of those and make it more like, oh, I'm under your control now. Not like I'm a puppet, but I'm controlled that you're my master or that I like evil or whatever version of that.
Like when they're in the cyber dimension, it's like, oh, like, listen, Hasbro. They could be there and it's like, oh, Blaze and Roxy trying to discredit the Robotron. Like, oh, I thought you were just a puppet master. How do you know how to program this? And then Skrull's will coming up, no, but if we corrupt him temporarily, it'll make his fighting abilities worse, but we could just use him for this stuff or something.
Okay, that is better than what we got, but not as good as what I just said. It's unnecessarily complicated.
You know what? It's not a competition between us.
Right, because
in the last 20 seconds, all right?
Yeah, but
I'm sorry.
But I already gave you a better explanation. It's like I can't. Okay, I'm going to use a sports analogy, and I don't know sports. So here we go.
Everybody hang on.
So it's like we have a baseball. It's like we have a pitcher, and he. Oh, this is a bad idea. We have a pitcher in the game. He's throwing baseballs, and the other team, they keep hitting him and getting home runs, right? And so I go, listen, you're doing all this crazy stuff and inconsistent. Just throw a really good slider. And he throws a really good slider, and it works. And you go, no, wait. Instead of throwing a really good slider, do like, a curveball most of the time. But then when we go to the cyber dimension of evil, then do like a slider as well. That's what it's like.
See, this is what happened. We both started strong, and then it ended poorly. We both lose a
Uh,
Ninja Steel point in
no.
the
Okay.
same conversation.
I will lose a Ninja Steel point for what I just said, but I think I should get one for my correcting of Hasbro's writing. So
I
I'm
don't even.
back at
You're
0.
netting even.
Back at 0. Netting even. I want the point. I'll take the loss, but I want the win as well. So we.
Fine.
Okay. Ninja Steel. Oh, it's gone.
Mine's just ah.
All right.
All
So
right.
back to base.
Yeah. So let's see.
Ben and Betty are talking about they think they saw Nate behind the base.
Yeah. So no. We're not there yet.
We're not.
No, they go back to the base and they say, "What happened?" And they go, "Oh, we have footage of
That
so
happens
and so."
after.
No,
I'm looking at the slideshow right now. Here, actually, we skipped something else. Scrozzle says, "You know what's better than a Gigadrone attack? Two Gigadrone." Right. Then we cut back to base. Devin's walking down the hall. Ben and Betty say, "Devin, we think we saw Nate behind the base."
That's right. Okay, this is simultaneous. You're right.
Then they cut to the part where the commander's talking. So go ahead.
Yes. So the commander's talking, going, "Hey, what happened?" Steele's like, "Hey, you're the guy that messed up, and now you double messed up because we have you on video, and blah, 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 you're the worst."
Yep.
And the most ironic part about not just the scene but the whole episode is it makes perfect sense why they wrote Steele to be the stickler for rules.
Yes.
Because he rules with an iron fist. Ah! Ninja Steel. We stopped this current program for a brief interruption. You're muted, by the way.
Can you hear me now?
Sadly so.
I tried to just walk it off. I tried to shake it off. I thought I was good. I came back and the worst. I didn't see that coming. I should have seen it coming, which made it worse.
I know that was
That's
the
what
best
made it
part. I
worse.
could see you getting drawn in.
Because I'm we're talking about Steel. I like Steel. Here's a fun Steel theory. What about Steel? Oh, it's a horrible pun that came out of nowhere.
Oh yes.
My notes.
I need you. If it's not too difficult to edit, I need you to edit that as the before the intro, and then we jump into the episode of you just taking your headset and walking off. Anyways, so all puns aside, Steele doubles down on being a stickler, and he's like, "You're fired," and everybody kind of looks like, "Can he do that?" And then Cole's like, "You know what? Yeah, I'm really sorry. I disappointed all of you," and leaves. And
the commander also says, "Yes, Steele.
Oh yeah,
you're
that's
right. He's done it twice. Get out of here." And then he says, Cole says, "I'm sorry," and leaves. Whatever. So
the commander's the worst. The commander is shoot first, ask questions later person.
Yeah. Well, look, the commander has been a jerk at times, but again, this makes sense. An employee, a security guard at an important base, twice in the same day made the same mistake as far as she knows. She has a ranger who is trusted, bring her evidence. It's like, so she made the right call.
I guess. But
what would you do? You're the commander. You have this information. You'd be like,
this world would be in shambles if I was the commander.
Okay.
But no, so I think the thing that gets me, and usually I'm the hard stickler of worst case scenario on this, is he goes they ask him why he did it. He's like, "Honestly, I don't remember. It's all a fog." Right. They have had enough previous episodes of Rangers going bad where it's like, timeout. You're not active right now, but maybe let's put things on hold until we figure stuff out. Because Nate currently is also not in his right mind.
You're right, but I blame him, not them. They're making a mistake, but we're going to have to give Cole agency to be the master of his own destiny, because if he said, "I would never betray you, I would never do this, I don't know what happened, I can't remember anything, I was outside and I saw a puppet, and then the next thing I know, he didn't even try. He's just like, "I guess you're right, I'm just terrible."
That was just poor writing. That's why.
But I'm saying, he should have stuck up for himself, and then they could have been like, "No, I'm sorry," or they're to blame, but it's kind of like if you have a bad teacher, and if you have a bad, you're in baseball, right? And you have a bad coach in baseball, and he's giving you bad advice or whatever, and you don't go, no, look, coach, I try to hit the ball the best I can. Anyway, you get what I'm saying.
Still would keep the trains running on time in Germany. That's all I got to say.
Oh boy. Okay. Anyway, so we cut outside, and Cole is outside, and there's sad music. Now here's something interesting. The next thing is we cut back to Devin, who's out back
Oh yeah,
with
I forgot
evil
about this.
Nate. Now he's looking around. I don't see anything, and Nate comes out from behind. He doesn't see him. Here's a
He's
question.
charging him in the most Naruto pose
That's-
with his sword.
But here's my question. How does he have his sword? He has his morpher when he turns evil or controlled or whatever, so he can morph. Fine. When they call on their weapons, they call, and presumably somebody at base sends it out. So did he call for his sword and somebody sent him his sword, even
And
though?
it just teleports or something.
Yeah, but they know that he's corrupted or evil or under control or something. So what asleep at the wheel agents like, oh, give him his sword, boop, there we go. Like, shouldn't there have been
it's not that somebody sends it. It's not like a beacon of like, hey, I need it, send it to me. It's just
You think
directly patched.
it's
to do
automatic,
it.
automated.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
well,
because they showed that with the swords for the red.
the Megazord, not the regular
yeah.
Zord, the Racer Zord.
Yeah.
No, that's a different
Yes.
season.
No, I
wait.
think it's Razor.
Oh, okay. I thought that was an RPM. Maybe whatever. Anyway, let's say that's true. It's automated. Fine. Wouldn't they put a lock on Nate's call? Like I know he's the
No.
big scientist, but they
No,
could just.
because this is Power Rangers.
Shouldn't they have put a lock on his?
This is Power
okay,
Rangers.
but they should have in a. I keep calling it a paramilitary installation because I don't know what else to call it, but in the paramilitary installation, it's the same as if. Okay, look. Let's say I'm on a baseball team in the major leagues, right? And I show up to work one day and I bring a sword and I start kicking everyone around. The next day, they're going to take that little pass I used to get into the stadium and deactivate it so I can't just come in and go as I please, right?
You would think. They also would have a Robotron with consistent powers. We've already established the plot holes of this episode. Let it go. And, Ninja Steel point for me, there have been previous episodes where they've had their weapons outside of morph form.
That wasn't my issue. My issue was that how did he get it since he's evil and they shouldn't be sending him weapons? Having weapons outside of morph form was not my issue, therefore you get no Ninja Steel point.
They have established in this episode thus far that Nate has some of his intellect, whether being controlled or somehow being used
You think he
to
hacked
program.
it?
He's the one who came up with all of it. He could easily make sure he can override.
I will give you a Ninja Steel for that. That's a much better
Thank
answer. Okay.
Yeah.
So Cole and his sad, walking away, Incredible Hulk kind of dun, 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 with his backpack sees what's going on. And he's like, Devin, watch out. Probably my favorite part of the whole episode is they both activate their beast power at the same time, knowing they're gonna fight.
Was cool.
That was very cool, and it was like, oh, this is like the evil Ranger moment I've kind of been waiting. Even though he's done other stuff, this was like the moment. And they transform and they start fighting. Then we cut to the Megazord or the Gigatron landing when we know the Zords are gonna come. And I don't know what they call this one, but it's clearly based on the enemy from the last episode because it has the timer in his chest, and so he's the technology sucking one. Although we don't see him use that power in this fight, which is weird. Again, I guess it's just because of the way they're choosing to use the stock footage. We didn't have a Megazord fight last time, so they're gonna put it in this one. Although actually, they're both in this fight, so one of these episodes had two villains in one, or it was a two-parter or whatever. Again, having not watched Go Busters, I don't know. I'm sure there's often an answer from the Sentai, but that doesn't really matter.
Translate well, yeah.
But it doesn't. It's not an excuse either. Because like, well, why is this? Oh, because in the Sentai X, Y, and Z. It's like, okay, but if it doesn't make sense in Power Rangers, it doesn't make sense. I'm not saying this is terrible and doesn't make sense, but sometimes it is, and people will say, oh, well, in the Sentai, and I'm like, that explains behind the scenes. That doesn't make the story make sense necessarily.
Yep.
I'm getting on a side tangent. There's two Gigadrones or Gigazords or Gigadrones. Giggity. So I'm a mess today. You got me all rattled with your stupid pun.
I know. Oh, it was the best pun I've had.
And we're running late too. You take over for a while. Speed us through some of this.
So we get to what ends up being two fights simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
The Rangers are not Red Ranger and Gold Ranger is called to fight the Gigadrones. They only know of one so far.
Mm-hmm.
So they go to fight, and we have blue individual Zord, yellow individual Zord, Combined Megazord of gold and silver.
I noticed that too.
Not a fan of it. Using stock footage, I get. Wish you would have explained it with a one-liner. Not happy about inconsistency.
Yeah, here's the one-liner they could have used too, because Steele's so full of himself. If they're like, "Oh, like you can't do that without Nate," and he could be like, "Nate couldn't do it without me," like because he's so much better.
Something.
Like, yeah, that would have been a good opportunity.
Yeah, so they're fighting the Zord kind of slowly, per usual. We get an individual fight between Red and Gold. Pretty good so far.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of it.
Agreed.
Let's see. I made the note already about that. So both fights are going pretty consistently, and I like how to quote unquote finish the fight with Gold. He's like, "Oh, I just need to destroy the puppet," and he sees the guy doing one puppet for Nate and one puppet for the Gigadrone up top, which is kind of funny because he's not really controlling anything.
I didn't get that at all.
There's the Robotron has
Hold
two
on.
puppets.
Let me skip ahead because you're ahead of.
Okay, sorry.
No. Does he have to? Oh, you're right.
Ninja Steel.
But that doesn't make Ninja Steel. You caught it, but that doesn't make any sense. Why would he
I
need
guess
a puppet
having the other
for-
one like subtly be there. I don't know.
No, but like typically they make a Gigadrone with the basic idea of the monster of the week. But the Gigadrones are on the evil side already. They don't need to be controlled. So why would he have a puppet of it? It makes no sense. All right. Well, I don't like that at all. I give you the Ninja Steel point for noticing it, but I take one away from the show because that makes no sense.
I know. So he's like, I need to destroy the puppet. He does a really cool flying kick, and then as that's the distraction, he throws his sword to take out the puppet that's controlling Nate.
That was very cool.
And then it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't mean to do this. He's like, yeah, I know how these work.
Yeah.
By the way, boom, Beast X, because we've established that that's both in the Sentai and the American. And then he does his cool charge finisher again, which I also think is cool.
I agree. There was one weird thing where Controlatron was like, "You think you're gonna get me? I still have a leg up on you," and kicks with his leg, does this crazy like leg wave attack, which was just kind of out of nowhere. Like they didn't like it. Usually themed monsters make a pun about their theme, and that a leg up, like how about break a leg maybe because it's theater or something. I don't know, but it was just, and like why did he like? It was just weird. And again, Sentai. There's probably some thing about his leg that they had to. But like even if he said nothing, I don't know. It was just, it made me go, what? What? Okay.
Oh darn you, Red Ranger kicks leg. Would have liked it better.
Sure, fine, yeah.
Yeah. He deflects everything because now he's nigh omnipotent and can teleport, and then does his little charge. Oh, before he does, Nate, classic fashion, was like, "We need to kill this guy with a gun." Shoots at him, stuns him a sec. Then we get the charge up finisher, which is pretty cool. And then that happens. Now, obviously, similar to Action Activate right now, running a little behind, need to catch up on some stuff.
Yes.
They jump in the Zords. Wow, great to have you. Hey guys, coming in hot. Literally says that line. Combined Megazord.
Get the puppet. I got the little puppet. Get the big puppet.
Yeah. Oh, before this, because I skipped ahead too far.
Yeah. Because the gorilla was under their control, so they
the Gigadrone comes in, controls the gorilla, and was like, "Oh, I guess you have that power too." Fight Steel, not doing too hot. Eventually, they
actually Zoe comes in. Yeah.
Zoe, who I was thinking before that, I'm like, "Where's Zoe?" Oh, she's gonna come in and save the day.
Yeah.
Saves the day, shoots the two Gigadrones, breaks that puppet, and then it's like, "Hey, we're back. We're coming in, Megazord. What do? Use our guns. Use the guns,
to get
destroys everybody. Day is saved."
Cheetah Beast Blaster is terrible.
I know, still hate it.
Virus eliminated, and then we're back to Grid Battle Force, and the exterior shot is missing the tree. So it's like, awesome continuity. Then Nate is saying, "Oh, I was under the Robotron's control. I don't remember anything," which is good because he won't know what plan he worked on. And I was a little bit worried that they followed up on this Gold Ranger thing so fast. He got controlled, he got freed. I'm like, oh, is that all it was? But no, this is part 2. There's still something coming, so I did like that.
Yeah.
But then when he says that, Steel is like, wait, oh no, I know what's happened. So to his credit, Steel realizes he made a mistake. He tells the commander, pardon me, they call Cole back, and he says there's only one thing to do. I was a little disappointed here. They call him, Cole that is, and he comes back, and I guess we'll get to why I'm disappointed in a second. We cut to Ben and Betty outside, and they're saying you can't put a tree back together, but you can plant a new one. And so they plant a seed, and she has special Nate. Now this is explained. It's not cartoony out of nowhere. It's Nate's super fertilizer with Morphex built-in stuff. And so they're like, "We'll give it one." And Ben's like, "1 drop, sis, 1 drop, boop," and it makes like a little baby tree. Perfect. Perfect. They explain how it works. They didn't do it too crazy. They're trying to make it right. I have no problem with this. Then they stand up to salute, and it falls over and spills in. I have no problem with that either. This is how you set up a joke. This is how you make it not too crazy cartoony, because you explained why it's going to happen. You see that they're not complete idiots. They're just a little klutzy. The second part of this joke is so much better than the first part of this joke.
Why?
I just explained it.
I hate how we keep establishing all of these giant advancements in technology and science
Yes.
that aren't used other than for dumb Ben and Betty jokes.
I agree with that, but I would take the explanation. At least there's an explanation. You know what I mean? They didn't putting random Morphex into a gasoline can shouldn't make anything you know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. And then it turns the tree into a cartoon. This is super fertilizer. It acts as you would expect super fertilizer to act. The tree doesn't look like a cartoon. It just grows really fast. You know,
yeah, fair.
That's what I'm saying. Like the setup of this I thought was weak. The payoff I thought was strong. That's and I'm not even talking in terms of comedy. Like I laughed so much, but it structurally makes sense and it doesn't bother me at all.
I agree. It was just another one of those things. I'm like, so you guys established with a little bottle that they got that you can grow trees whenever you want.
Yes. No, that opens a whole why aren't you solving world hunger?
I know.
Yeah.
I was like,
can we save the rainforest now? I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. But I'm trying to look at it in this weird little isolated world they have. Speaking of which, Cole comes in on a Morphex bike. Once again, bringing it back.
I know, that part I liked.
That is good. And then Steele says, I may have overreacted. Everybody makes mistakes. I think I was too harsh, blah, 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 blah. And then they say, oh, by the way, it turns out, you were mind controlled. Here's what bothered me before. Steele said he made a mistake and overreacted. There's only one thing to do. The one thing to do is that he called the guy, apologized, and gave him his job back. Now, that is the right thing to do. Steele, the entire episode, was saying when you do something wrong, when you break the rules, when you make a mistake, you need to be punished. I was sure he was going to go outside and start sweeping or, polishing Cole's car or some sort of punishment. The fact that that didn't happen really annoys me. I really wanted him to have some sort of punishment.
I didn't realize that until you told me, and now it bothers me.
And I could have maybe overlooked it like you did, except that he goes, I know what I have to do, so definitively. I'm like, oh, yeah, me too. Now that you said that, a punishment. Nope, just apology, which, again, correct. But the whole, this would have been a great payoff. It would have been a great payoff.
Yeah.
And you could have had that instead of Ben and Betty, or have him helping Ben and Betty, and then they all fall down or whatever. It just, I have such a wasted opportunity. So then Steele, though, goes, boy, what a wild day. I couldn't get any crazier.
Oh, nothing else. Yeah.
Yeah, and then this did have a good payoff because the tree gets huge, filling the gap so that in future episodes it'll be there again. And they look up, and then Steele goes, I take it back. That's bananas, which I don't know why, but the banana, saying that's bananas made me laugh. Because he said nothing, it couldn't get any wilder or crazier or something. Yeah. And he didn't use the same word. Saying bananas just was more. It's funny because, I don't know how many people work on these, how they get tweaked, but it's the writer who did that line totally got the setup and the follow through and chose the word bananas, and it really worked. How could that be the same writer that says, I know what I have to do, and not have that follow through? Or maybe they did, but it's a budget thing. Maybe the writer said, oh, then we'll have a funny thing happen. They're like, we can't. Are you saying plot hole? It's not a plot hole. It's not a plot hole,
I
though.
didn't say it was a plot hole.
What's this?
I don't know.
You usually go, boop, boop. Okay.
I can't explain.
Well,
this
yeah.
is the plot hole
right.
thing. This is, my hands are up. I'm shrugging. I have no good reason.
And we are way over. So Ben and Betty, we did it. It's a brand new tree. So I already talked about this. The end. We got to wrap up. What is your grade? What is your final? C. I also give it a C. I had a C going into it, and it went up a little bit towards the second half of the episode, and then some things disappointed me, and it went back to a C. If this was season 1, especially the first half of season 1, I would probably I would B or B minus. Yeah. But you got
the bar has been raised.
Got to step it up. I think that's it for now. I think there's a new episode next week. I think we're good until episode 8 is how it's working, I believe.
I haven't looked. You'd know better than me.
Well, we'll be back next week with the news if there's no episode at the very least. But until then, I have been Gazbot.
Still the big Dawg Defender.
Oh, well then, to the power.
The power. See you guys later.
Okay, there's the end credits. Not gonna talk with you guys this time.
I'm respecting people's enjoyment of watching us in Gazbot.
They can watch with their eyes and listen with their ears.
I think I've said enough this episode. You would agree.
Haven't said enough. I don't know what that means. Oh, I'm gonna stop recording.